On this week's Motor Week, Ken Gibson will be driving the new entry-level MGF. Richard Hammond will be testing the 190 brake horsepower Toyota Celica. Glenda McKay is driving the all-new Seat Rosa in Spain, and Ginny Buckley is looking at the latest edition of the BMW Compact.
Question: why are sports cars that we all dream about never ever affordable? It has to be one of the most frustrating things in motoring. Well, I've got very good news. I've gone and found us a brand spanking new, very affordable sports car. Even better news is, it's British. MG have always been known for bringing authentic sports car motoring to the masses, and this is the new MGF I. It's the newest version of the MGF model that resurrected the famous MG badge back in 1995. But it's nearly £1,500 cheaper at £15,500. MG have achieved this rather Scrooge-like feat by slipping a 1.6 litre engine to replace the 1.8 unit that's in the standard model. So I can hear you saying, what's the snag? All this car? It's the 1.6 engine. You think it's going to be absolutely gutless, like a family runabout. Well, don't be so sure. Okay, we're not talking fireball here. You're never going to get that with a 1.6. And the figures aren't that impressive either. 0 to 60 in 9.3 seconds, top speed 116 miles an hour. You can get that bettered by quite a lot of family saloons these days, but that's missing the point. They can't put the roof down. They can't enjoy wind in the hair motoring. Always seems stupid when I say wind in the hair motoring. And I tell you what, it may only be 1.6, but this is a very lively 1.6 engine. It's got a lot of low-down torque, goes really well all the way through the gears. You actually have to push the car hard through the gears to get the maximum. But that's part of the enjoyment of driving a sports car. If you really want the seat of the pants stuff, then, you know, I suggest you go on a racing track. That's the place for that. You can go around there sideways and whatever way you want, and you're not really putting anybody else at risk. Another practical thing about this MGF is just how economical it is for a sports car. You get a combined figure of 38.4 mpg, nearly 50 on a long run, and you still get 28.2 mpg around town. Well, congratulations MG Rover, you have done the business. A true sports car that's affordable enough for real motorists. And even better, I've picked a day in March to test a sports car in Britain, and it hasn't rained. And that means I'm going to get the maximum. Bye.
It has a certain, well, it's got to be beautiful to somebody, somewhere. But just because it isn't the prettiest looking car in the traditional sense doesn't mean it's a bad car, necessarily. Once you pass those lantern-jawed comic book looks, you actually find yourself in a very sensible, practical car. The reason you're sitting so far from me is that we've got 3 seats at the front here. So 3 of us can go across, it's 3 by 3, meaning 6 people in all, obviously. As a drive, well, it's nice and lofty, which you get from a higher driving position. There's glass everywhere, so it's bright and visibility is very good. This is a 1.6 litre petrol engine version, about 100 brake horsepower. It's not fast, but it's enough. There is a JTD turbo diesel, which is a fantastic engine, which makes it a lot nippier. And to drive, it is fun and engaging enough to keep you occupied. We've got this rather nightmare on skull rock arrangement of instrument cluster here, where they just seem to have stuck as much on as humanly possible. But again, despite it looking a bit odd, it actually works really, really well. The gear lever right next to the steering wheel, everything to hand. Scintillating. Not a word that springs to mind when you're driving the Multipla, but then you wouldn't expect it to. Competent. That's the word that does spring to mind. Perhaps not as exciting, but certainly very useful. Picture this. You're on your way into work. It's Monday morning. You're perhaps slightly hungover. You've had a fallout with your other half. And on the middle of that daily commute, somebody is going to overtake you. And they're going to be laughing and giggling at you and your car. Can you deal with that on a Monday morning? I don't think I could. You see, I'm going to stop now, which means I'm going to have to get out, which means I'm going to have to take another look at that exterior, which in many ways is a shame, because what this car is about is this, the interior, which is fantastic. I mean, take a look. Okay, now remember, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm not looking at the outside, only the inside.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a successful kind of girl. Have been for some time now. And image is everything to me. The kind of car I drive, it has to be the right car for me. Back there in the 80s, it was the Porsche Turbo. Fast, powerful, a bit like me really. Then in the 90s, well, it was the BMW, of course. Reassuringly expensive, well-built, stylish. So, in the year 2000, what do you think a girl like me drives now? I got one out front. Do you want to have a look? It's this. It's the all-new Seat Rosa. I mean, you didn't think I could possibly afford the fuel for the Porsche nowadays. And the BMW, can't find anywhere for it to park. But this, you know, it's perfect. Well, now I'm actually in the car. I can drop the image for a bit. You know, you don't have to have a sports car to have fun these days, and you don't have to break the bank to get a good quality car. And that's why these practical little super minis, well, they're selling like hotcakes. Now let's start with the build quality. This Seat is based on the very successful VW Lupo, which is a good start. And it's amazing to see things like this cup holder here is found in a much more expensive, much more high-spec Audi. In fact, all the switches and the buttons are, well, they're reassuringly German, actually, even if the car is Spanish. Now, before I get involved in talking about performance and specification, I'm going to do a little experiment to show you just how practical this lovely little Seat is. And for this, I need a willing volunteer. Oh, you'll do. Yeah, you. Come on, come here. Quick, 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 bring your bag. Turn around, turn around. Lovely. Right, get in.
Although they look small on the outside, it's deceptive because you can quite easily get 1, 2, 3, 4 lanky cameramen in, with room left over for the gear. It's like the TARDIS in there. This is the 1.4 16 valve with the engine producing a hefty 100 horsepower, yet it's still very economical, achieving over 40 miles per gallon. Now the newer Rosa has twin headlamps in line with its bigger brothers, which gives it a more grown-up style. The body shell has also been restyled, with sporty alloy wheels coming as standard. The interior has also been given a makeover. It's funky, stylish, and Seat have obviously used high-quality materials throughout.
Look, Charles, just sell the shares. Yes, sell them now, okay? Bye. All this work and no play. I thought life was supposed to be about having an enjoyable time. Well, this car's supposed to be fun. Let's go and have some. Hey, you know, this car really is quite nippy. The suspension has been developed so that it handles really well at low speeds, but then when you do put your foot on the accelerator, it stays really stable. You know, I think that Seat have done it. They've actually got a car that looks sporty and it feels sporty as well. It'll be your best friend when you're out on the open road, and then when you get in the city, it's pretty good too, which leads me neatly onto parking. Take a look at this. You know, I was only joking. I can't imagine many big executives trading in the BMWs for one of these little tiny Seat Rosas, but they don't know what they're missing. It really is a practical little car. It's sporty, it's only a low insurance group, cheap to run, especially in today's economy, and most of all, it's loads and loads of fun. Fun. I wonder. Bear with me a second. Hello? Yep, Charles, hi, it's Glenda. I've decided I'm not going to go back to work. I found a new free spirit. I'm going to stay and live in Spain with my new Seat Rosa. Yes, bye.
Coming up after the break, we've got our look at the new Toyota Celica powered by that 190 brake horsepower engine. And Ginny Buckley will be driving the latest BMW Compact.
You know, it isn't just enough for manufacturers to sell cars. No, what they all really crave is brand loyalty. They want us behind the wheel of their marques time and time again, which is the main reason BMW introduced the 3 Series Compact. It made ownership of a BMW more affordable and got more new drivers behind the wheel. And this is a second generation 3 Series Compact, which will come in 2 models, a 316 Ti and the 325 Ti, both of which will be on sale in the summer. Now, the last model was very popular with the old company car market, but this time around, as you can see from the changes to the styling, BMW are hoping to attract a younger buyer who are in the market for something a little sportier. In the 7 years since the Compact's first launch, the competition has increased. It's picked up plenty of rivals. Cars like Audi's A3, the Alfa 147, and a new competitor from Mercedes is on the way, a small C-Class sports coupe. So what have BMW done this time around to woo potential buyers away from the competition? Well, the most obvious changes to the new Compact are, of course, the styling. It certainly does look younger and fresher, a little bit more masculine, but it's still packed with all those BMW styling cues that BMW owners love. The problem is, though, that it doesn't really grab your attention in the way that some of the other sports coupes do on the market. And the one thing we're really not sure about at all are those rear lights. if you look from a certain angle, you could almost be looking at a Toyota. Inside you get that feeling of quality that you expect from a BMW. Okay, it's very dark and it's fairly bland, but it does just feel right, with much of the dash and the layout coming from the 3 Series saloon. The first thing I've got to say is it does feel like a very grown-up car. It's very smooth and very refined, and if you want to take it easy, then it just pulls beautifully throughout the engine's range. However, if you do want to have a bit of fun and open it up and you kick it to around 4,000 revs, you see a really different side to the car's character. It just feels like you can have a lot more fun in it, and the sound that you get is absolutely superb. Now, of course, it's not just enough having a superb engine, you've got to have the rest of the package to go with it. As you can imagine, this car doesn't let you down. The steering is absolutely superb. The gearbox is very precise. You get plenty of feedback behind the wheel. And the suspension setup is superb. It's not too hard, it's just perfect, not too soft. It feels very, very agile. In all, the Compact is a great example of exactly what BMW just do superbly. It's a fantastically engineered car. It's the kind of car that really makes you want to get out and drive it, and it really does give you the confidence to push it a bit and have a bit of fun in it. So you think that offering a driving experience like this car does, BMW would have the competition all sewn up, but it isn't that simple. You see, does the BMW badge have quite the pull that it used to do? In some parts of the world it may still have the cachet to impress the neighbours, but maybe not everywhere. But hey, they might be cluttering up our motorways, ruining any chance of exclusivity, and there are certainly far prettier cars around. But once you get behind the wheel of a car that's as great to drive as this is, you'll be bitten by the BMW bug.
A bloke I heard about every day used to put baseball catcher's mitts on his hands and his feet, and then he'd climb up a giant trouser leg and take ferocious bites out of a huge polystyrene set of ghoulies. Turned out it was in case he was reincarnated as a mole, and he thought it'd be a really good trick to surprise the gardener. Well, if that bloke had been a Toyota Celica, I can tell you right now what he would have been reincarnated as. A Toyota Celica. Because the Japanese manufacturer's fondness for clinging to a name through generation after generation is fast becoming legendary. Think, if you will, of the Toyota Corolla. Yeah, well, not for too long. There's been thousands of them. Now the Celica, well, if you remember, the previous model was a kind of wobbly, rather melted looking affair, never exactly a pretty car. This new one, with its sharply pressed edges and creases, took over in about the last 12 months or so, and I reckon looks a heck of a lot better. So this isn't an entirely new car. Okay, there is a good reason for us talking about it today though, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, a quick reminder that this follows the Celica's tradition of being just a bit odd, a bit quirky to look at. As with many Japanese cars, we could spend all day playing Let's Spot the bits of other cars that have made it into this design. But we won't, because it's annoying and boring. The sort of pointy motif on the exterior has been carried on inside as well though, and yeah, quirky again, but it looks good, kind of taut. Looks as though somebody's stretched a ground sheet over all the bits and pieces that make up the dash, the vents and stuff like that. Oh, and there's this. I did this on launch, but I'm going to do it again because I like it. You can frighten the kids. Arrgh. Yeah, well, I'm a bit of a kid myself, I suppose. And so we come to the reason we're looking at the Celica today, which is this new super hot model. 190 on the tailgate stands for 190 brake horsepower. VVTi, it's variable valve technology. Basically, think of Honda's VTEC system. It means that it changes the cam profile to completely alter the character of the engine in the car. So below about 6,000 revs, it's a nice little shopping car, really. Above 6,000 revs, it goes completely nuts. Permit me to demonstrate. This, though, is definitely not a case of nice powerful engine in a car that can't handle it. The chassis is well up to the job, which means the whole thing feels pin sharp and well controlled. I get the impression it's really been set up to be driven hard as well. If you're mid-corner on the power, lift off and you'll feel the tail step out nicely but under control to give you a nice bit of drift. As soon as you get back on the power, the whole thing's back under control again. It's a huge amount of fun, but you do have to work it hard because of that VVTi. You've got to keep it up in that very narrow power band from about 6,000 revs. Well, it gives up at about 8,500 revs on the limiter. You need to keep it in there. Toyota have kindly given you a 6-speed gearbox to help you do that, but it is still hard work rowing it through all 6 gears constantly. Thankfully, the mechanism and the action of the gearbox itself is nice and precise and feels fairly mechanical and accurate. From 0 to 60 takes an enormous 8.7 seconds, and that's largely because of this split personality engine. The first few seconds are spent hanging around waiting for something to happen, and then it all goes crazy. But that's not to give you the full story, because if you can keep it in that narrow power band, and if it suits your style of driving through those 6 gears, it is a very fast car, and it's great for once to meet a coupe, a mainstream coupe, that actually has the go to match its looks.
Be sure to watch next week's Motor Week when we'll be driving the latest incarnation of the legendary BMW M3.